Lathisms podcast. I'm Evelyn Lamb. In each episode, we invite a Hispanic or Latinx mathematician to share their journey in mathematics with us. Today, we're very happy to welcome Ricardo Cortez to the show. Hi. Can we start maybe by talking a little bit about your research area?
Sure. I am an applied mathematician, and I'm basically a computational mathematician. I do what's called numerical analysis. And what this means is using mathematics to write computer codes to do simulations of various phenomena. What I am mostly interested in is phenomena that have to do with fluid motion, in particular, the fluid flow that is generated around swimming microorganisms. Things like cilia that are all over our bodies, or flagella that are part of microorganisms like bacteria and sperm. And so they beat in certain frequencies and they generate flows to propel themselves or to do something else. And we want to study those flows.
Oh, and is that where you started your mathematical research, or did you start somewhere first and then end up with fluid flows?
Well, I started doing maybe differential equations, but as an undergraduate, I was a mechanical engineering major first. And as part of that major, you study fluid mechanics. And at the time, I didn't think I liked it, actually, that area. But once I switched to applied mathematics and I looked at the mathematics of the fluid flows, then I liked it a lot better.
And how did you get interested in engineering and mathematics in the first place? Did you have early experiences with mathematics as a child?
I think I did. I don't remember too many, but that means I don't remember any unpleasant ones either. I remember being fairly good at math. For example, in 7th grade, the teacher caught me doing something that I shouldn't have been doing in class. And his way of dealing with it was he made me come up to the board and do a problem. And I think he was trying to embarrass me or something, but I got it right. And so it didn't work for him, and it gave me some confidence. And so I kind of liked math from the beginning. In high school, I was also pretty good in math, and people looked at me for help, maybe my peers and things like that. So I liked math all the time, I think, as far as I remember.
And did you grow up in the U.S.?
I grew up partly in the U.S. and partly in San Salvador, El Salvador. My parents and all their families were from El Salvador, but they happened to be in the United States for some time, which is when I was born. So I was born in New York City, and when I was about 4, almost 5 years old, my parents decided to move the family back to El Salvador. So I went to school there until I finished high school, and then I came back to the United States.
Do you feel like there's a big difference in how the education system works in the U.S. as opposed to El Salvador?
I think there is a difference. It's a little bit tricky for me to say from first-hand experience because I did part of my education in El Salvador and part of it here in the States. So I don't know the counterparts of each one of those sides. But I think that as a general rule, mathematics, for example, in El Salvador, and maybe in a larger region of Latin America, is not seen as something that only certain people should do or could do, or people don't feel like it's okay to say, oh, I don't know mathematics, but that's okay because I know other things. I think mathematics is taken to be something that everyone should know to some degree, and is something that people strive to learn. I'm not sure that that's the case in the U.S.
Did your parents encourage you to pursue math or other STEM careers?
Yeah, when we were looking for college majors, I remember thinking that I liked mathematics, but at the time, nobody in my family including me, knew that mathematics could be a career. Mathematics to us sounded like a subject that you study, and engineering sounded more like a career. So I was encouraged by the people around me to pursue engineering, in a sense, because I liked mathematics. And so that's what I did originally. And once I was in college, I took as many math courses as I could. And as I was running out of courses, I decided that I wanted to take some more. And my advisor at the time, my engineering advisor, suggested that I add a math major if I was going to be serious about taking more math classes for the rest of my semesters. And so that's what I did, and I ended up double majoring.
And were you encouraged by other professors in the math department or discouraged to pursue mathematics?
I don't remember being discouraged by anybody at the time, or maybe I just didn't understand subtle discouragement. I really wasn't very clear in my head about what I wanted to do. All I wanted to do was take some more math courses because I liked math. I wasn't really thinking of a career. I certainly didn't know anything about graduate school, and I didn't know anything about research in math. As an undergraduate, I went maybe to one or two conferences, but I didn't really experience research in mathematics.
And how did you learn that mathematics was something you could make a career of and decide to go to graduate school?
Accidentally. I had friends that were graduating college with me in mathematics, and in particular, one friend of mine, she knew all about graduate school. Her father was a physicist in Los Alamos, and she went to graduate school in applied math at UC Berkeley. And I actually stayed behind still as an undergraduate, finishing my second degree, my engineering degree, which I had neglected a little bit. And so during that year, she encouraged me to apply to UC Berkeley. She kept telling me how great it was over there. And I thought I wanted to study some more. So I applied to UC Berkeley in applied mathematics. And I applied for graduate school, I think, at Arizona State University, which is where I was doing my undergraduate degrees. And I was also already looking for jobs in engineering because I just didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't really have a lot of guidance, obviously. And as it turns out, UC Berkeley accepted me, so I went there.
Do you feel like you had some important mentors in your education when you got either at Arizona State or at UC Berkeley?
Yeah, definitely in graduate school. As an undergraduate, I didn't have too many mentors. I had advisors who would look at my course schedule every semester, and that was about it. When I got into Berkeley, it turns out that my math advisor had been a graduate student at UC Berkeley many, many years earlier. So he was excited about it, and he was encouraging me to go and do well. But that was at the time when I was almost already decided that I was going to do that. Once I got to UC Berkeley, the first couple of years were rough as a graduate student. It was at a time, there were different times there. It was in the late 80s. And the math department there was accepting lots of students into their PhD program with the full knowledge that many of those students were not going to finish those degrees. And somehow they justified it by thinking that they were giving people opportunities that they wouldn't otherwise have. And I think I was one of those, probably. And I happened to survive, I guess, somehow. So my first couple of years were a little rough. I'm not sure I can point to any advisors or mentors at the time. But I had a good set of peers. Many of them survived too. Many of them didn't survive. they ended up with a master's degree or something like that and left. But once I was passed my exams, then I found an advisor, Alexander Chorin is his name, who was really, truly excellent. He was very gracious all the time. He gave me a lot of opportunities to do research with him and funded me as a research assistant and sent me to conferences and other workshops and things. Did all the things that good advisors do. And we used to have conversations about mathematics and academia and all these things. So he was a great mentor to me.
And did your experiences at Berkeley, both in the beginning where you didn't have as much mentorship and then later when you did have a good advisor, how have those affected how you've acted as a mentor and teacher and advisor?
Oh, they had a huge influence on me. I don't think Berkeley does that anymore. In fact, they stopped doing that after I left. And I always think of that when new graduate students come to my department here at Tulane University. And of course, our programs are very different from Berkeley, but in particular, Tulane is a small place. But I try to make sure that we have support for our first-year graduate students. I understand now a lot better how people make transitions from undergraduate to graduate school and things like that, and how it's different for everybody. And some people take a semester or even less to make the transition. Others take maybe a year to make the transition. And one has to understand that everybody needs different kinds of support. And it's a matter of getting to know the students and trying to understand what will work for them.
And do you have advice you give to students about overcoming academic challenges?
Well, I do have advice. I talk to my students a lot. I usually don't just offer advice unsolicited, but I tell them sometimes about my story or stories of other people I know that I know are going to resonate with them. Also, with my friend Dagan Karp, we have one of the American Mathematical Society blogs. It's called the E-Mentoring blog, and we post a lot of comments about, well, what is useful, what we think is good mentoring for undergraduate students and graduate students and even postdocs and faculty. So, I've served as mentor to some students through different organizations, and I tend to talk to them a lot to make sure that at the very least they understand that whatever they're going through, they're not alone, and most of us have gone through something like it, and we can help them identify ways of getting past it.
Do you have a professional accomplishment you're most proud of?
I think so. In my field, there are lots of people that create computational models or computational methods for simulating certain things. And early on, about 15, 16 years ago, I created something that is called the method of regularized Stokeslets. These are technical words, but it's a method for simulating the kinds of fluid motions generated by flagellated organisms, like I was telling you earlier. And these are useful for flows around bacteria swimming and spermatozoa and things like that. And actually, it's become a really popular method all around the world. So I'm really proud of that one.
What are your thoughts on Hispanic Heritage Month?
Well, to me, Hispanic Heritage Month serves as a reminder, I guess, to some people that we are here, and there are lots of Latinos and Chicanos, for example, in the United States that are in all different places, all different corners of society. And we have important contributions to the culture and to the society, to the science, to teaching, to the workforce. And sometimes I think people forget, especially when it comes to minority populations, maybe because they're just smaller populations or we're underrepresented in many cases in certain sectors. And so I think it serves as a reminder to everybody, and it's a good time to highlight accomplishments of people from Latin America, for example, or other of Hispanic origin, and their accomplishments and what they mean to society and what they contribute.
Is there anything else you wanted to close with?
Well, in spite of what I said about the education, in the mathematics education in the U.S., I am very interested in making some positive change. And so I decided that in order to do that, I should really be involved. I cannot be talking about mathematics education without being involved fully. So a few years ago, maybe about 5 years ago, I began to collaborate with people in math education, in particular people that are directors of teacher preparation programs and things like that, and have been learning a lot about math education in the U.S. and how to prepare teachers, in particular things like mathematical modeling, which are mathematical modeling is a little bit of a new subject for the curriculum in K-12, especially since the Common Core state standards came out. And so we are doing a lot of research in terms of trying to understand how people develop competency in mathematical modeling and how that can be translated into effective teaching in K-12. So these are new interests of mine that I keep in parallel with my mathematics research, and I invite others to be part of it.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate your taking the time to talk with me today.
Thanks so much, Evelyn.
Thank you for listening to the Lathisms podcast. It's produced by me, Evelyn Lamb, and made possible by a Tensor Summa grant from the Mathematical Association of America. Our music is Volvere by La Floresta. Lathisms is an initiative to celebrate the accomplishments of Hispanic and Latinx mathematicians. It was founded in 2016 by Alexander Diaz-Lopez, Pamela Harris, Alicia Prieto Langarica, and Gabriel Sosa. You can find more information about the project at lathisms.org. That's LATHISMS.org. Join us next time to hear from another inspiring mathematician.